3 people are fiercely defending you right now. And I need you to feel the weight of that before we go any further. Because last night, while you were asleep, while you were going about your evening completely unaware, something happened. Someone said something about you, something ugly, something designed to chip away at your name, your character, the way people see you. And here's the thing. 3 people in the room heard it. Every single one of them looked disgusted, not uncomfortable, not awkwardly, silent, disgusted, because what was said about you last night crossed a line. And these 3 people knew it the second the word left the person's mouth. And what happened next is what I can only call a public reckoning. Public reckoning. I want to repeat that right there in front of everyone. They defended your honor out loud, without hesitation. And I need to walk you through exactly what I'm sensing about this, because there is so much more underneath it than just someone stood up for you. This is bigger than that. This is a moment that's going to ripple forward into your life in ways you can't even imagine yet. So stick with me, because we are going to deep into this one. Okay, so let's start with the feeling I'm getting, because before we even get into who these people are, I want you to sit with this for a second. You know that feeling, that gut feeling where you walk into a room and something feels off, like the air is different, like people got quiet a little too fast, or someone's smile didn't quite reach their eyes. Yeah, that's the residue. That's the leftover energy from something that happened recently, something involving you, even if you were not physically there. And what I'm picking up is that this happened recently, like within the last week, maybe even the last few days. And it happened in a setting where you were not present at dinner, a gathering, maybe a group chat that spiraled into actual conversation. Somewhere you were not, but your name came up. And listen, I know that feeling of finding out someone talked about you when you were not there. It's such a specific kind of unsettling, right? Because your mind immediately starts spinning. What did they say? What did they say? Who heard it? Do they think differently about me now? It's almost worse than if someone said something to your face, because at least then you'd know exactly what you are dealing with. But this lives in the shadows for a bit. And I think somewhere in your gut, you already sensed that something shifted. Maybe you noticed someone being a little extra nice to you out of nowhere. Maybe someone gave you a look you couldn't quite place. Maybe you got a text that felt slightly protective, like someone checking in on you for no clear reason. That's not random. That's the aftermath of what I'm talking about. So here is what happened. Picture this, and I want you to really picture it, because the details matter here. There is a room, could be someone's living room, could be a kitchen table, could be even be a car with a few people in it after an event. Doesn't matter exactly where. But there is a small group, 3, 4, maybe 5 people, and one person, someone who has some kind of access to you, some kind of relationship where they cross paths with the people in this room, starts talking, and it starts small. It starts like gossip always starts, a little comment, a little, have you noticed how he's been acting lately? Or I heard he did this. Or honestly, I don't even know why people like them so much. You know how it goes. It's casually at first, almost playful, like they are just sharing an opinion. And then it doesn't stay casual. It builds, because this person, whoever they are, has been sitting on something, some kind of resentment, some kind of jealousy, some kind of insecurity that they have been carrying around. And last night in that room, it all came pouring out, and it got personal. It got specific. It got into territory that wasn't fair, that wasn't true, or that was true, but twisted so far out of context that it became something cruel. Maybe they brought up something from their past. Maybe they made assumptions about your character, your intentions, your relationships, your choices. Maybe they even brought up something private, something that was only ever shared in confidence and used it as ammunition. And the room went quiet for a second. That kind of quiet where everyone's eyes dart around, where nobody knows it, if they should laugh off or call it out. And then this is the part that gives me chills, honestly. 3 people in that room didn't stay quiet. 3 people looked at each other and then looked at the person talking. And one by one, they pushed back. I'm seeing this so clearly. One of them, I think this might be someone older, someone with a kind of quiet authority, someone people naturally listen to, was the first to speak up. And it wasn't loud, it wasn't dramatic, it was calm, but it was firm. Something like that's not okay, or I don't think that's fair to say, or even just a flat, I don't agree with that, with all of that. And the moment that first person spoke, it cracked something open, because then a second person jumped in. And this one was a little more emotional about it. Maybe someone closer to your age, someone who actually knows you well, someone who spent real time with you and knows firsthand that what was being said didn't match the person they know. And they said so clearly, maybe even with a little heat in their voice, like, okay, that's actually not true. And I'm not going to sit here and let you say that. And then the third person, and this one is interesting because I feel like this person might not even be someone super close to you. This could be someone more on the periphery, someone who doesn't have a deep personal stake in defending you, but who has a strong sense of fairness, a strong moral compass. And this person basically said something like, even if that were true, which I don't think it is, that's not something you say about someone when they are not here to defend themselves. Like they called out the whole dynamic of it, the unfairness of attacking someone's character when they can't respond, when they don't even know it is happening. And in that moment, the energy in the room flipped completely. The person who started all this, they went from feeling powerful, feeling like they had an audience, feeling like they were staring something juicy, to suddenly feeling exposed, because now it wasn't about you anymore. Now everyone was looking at them, and that's the public reckoning. Yeah, that's the moment I keep coming back to, because reckonings are not really about the original target. They are about the person who started it finally being seen for what they are doing. And last night that happened in real time in front of people whose opinions actually matter to the person. Now, here is where it gets really interesting, because I want to talk about who these 3 people might be, because I think this is going to land for you in a real specific way. The first person, the calm, who have authority. I kept getting a sense of someone who holds some kind of role in your life or in this group dynamic where people just naturally respect what they say. This could be a parent or an older relative, a mentor figure, maybe even someone like a boss or someone in a leadership position within a friend group or family structure. Someone whose word tends to settle arguments just by being said. And what's beautiful about this person speaking up first is that it gave everyone else permission to speak too. Sometimes all it takes is one person with a certain kind of presence saying, no, that's not right. And suddenly the whole room remembers their own values. The second person, the one who got a little fired up, I really feel like this is someone who has genuine ongoing relationship with you. Someone who has laughed with you, someone maybe cried with you, maybe been through something significant with you. This is someone who has personal evidence, personal memories, personal experiences that directly contradict whatever was said. And when they spoke up, it wasn't just defending an idea of you. It was defending the actual person they know, the real you. The you that shows up in the small moments, the unguarded moments, the moments nobody else gets to see. And that kind of defense hits differently because it's not theoretical. It is lived experience talking. And the third person, the one with a strong sense of fairness, I think this person might actually surprise you the most if you ever found out who it was, because I get the feeling this might be someone you wouldn't necessarily expect to go out of their way for you. Maybe someone you don't talk to them often, maybe someone you've had a slightly distant or even slightly awkward relationship with in the past. And yet, when it mattered, when the moment called for someone to say, this is not right, they did. And honestly, that might end up meaning more to you than you'd expect, because sometimes the people who defend you when they don't have to are the ones who reveal the most about your true character, because it shows that even people who are not deeply attached to you can see who you really are. Now let's talk about the person who started this, because I think there is something important here too. I don't get the sense that this is someone, a random stranger or some distant acquaintance. I get the sense that this is someone close, someone who has access to your life, your circle, your information. And here is the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the people who talk about us the most negatively are the people who are closest to us, because proximity gives them material, and unfortunately, sometimes it gives them motive too. I'm sensing some kind of underlying jealousy here. Maybe this person has been watching things unfold in your life, good things, growth, positive changes, maybe even just you simply being happy. And instead of feeling joy for you, something twisted in the inside them. Envy does strange things to people. It convinces them that someone else's light is somehow dimming their own, even though that's never actually true. I'm too emotional today. And I think this person has probably been talking about you for longer than just last night. Last night might have just been the moment it finally became visible, the moment it finally got said out loud in front of people who were willing to call it out. But I think if you look back, and I'm not saying go dig anything up, I'm just saying if you reflect, your body knows. If you reflect, you might realize there have been small signs, little comments here and there, slightest changes in tone, maybe even little things that got back to you second hand, that you brushed off at the time because you didn't want to assume the worst about someone. You're not that kind of person. That's so human. By the way, we give people the benefit of the doubt because we'd rather be wrong about suspecting someone than right about it. But sometimes our gut knows things before our own mind is ready to accept them. Here is the part, though, that I think is the most important. And I want you to really hold on to this. The fact that 3 separate people in a room in real time with no script, no plan, no coordination, 3 people independently decided that was what was being said about you was wrong enough, unfair enough, untrue enough that they had to say something. That tells you everything you need to know about how you are actually perceived by the people who know you. Because here is the thing about character, and you cannot fake it long term. No, people might be polite to your face and say something different behind your back for a while, sure. But when push comes to shove, when someone actually tries to tear you down in front of others, the truth tends to surface. And the truth that surfaced last night is that the people around you, at least these 3, see something in you worth protecting, worth standing up for, worth correcting the record about even when you were not there to do it yourself. And I think there is a deeper layer here too, which is about timing. Why now? Why did this happen now at this point in your life? And I keep feeling like you've been going through some kind of transition recently, some kind of change, maybe in your relationship, maybe in your work, maybe just internally in how you see yourself and how you are choosing to show up in the world. I think you've been growing. I think you've been becoming more confident, more visible, maybe even just happier than you've been in a while. And sometimes, and this is just how it goes, unfortunately, when we start glowing a little brighter, it makes certain people uncomfortable, especially people who are stuck, especially people who feel like they are not where they want to be in their own life. Your growth can become, in a strange and sad way, a mirror that shows them everything they feel they are lacking. And instead of looking inward, they look outward. They look at you and they try to find something to say that will make them feel like they are still on top, still in control, still relevant. But here is what I really want you to take from this. What was said about you last night doesn't define you. No, it never did. What defines you is what those three people saw and knew to be true, even when it would have been easier to just stay quiet and let it slide, because staying quiet is always the easier option. Speaking up, especially in a moment of social tension, especially when you risk awkwardness or conflict or making things weird, that takes something, that takes care, that takes a real relationship with you, or at minimum, a real sense of integrity in themselves. And three people chose that. Three people chose you, even in your absence. I also want to talk about something of what happens next, because I don't think this is the end of the story. I think word is going to get around, not in a dramatic blow-up kind of way necessarily, but I think the energy of last night is going to settle into the group, into the dynamic, and things are going to
shift. The person who said those things, I think they are going to feel it. I think they already feel it, actually, honestly, that sinking feeling of, no, that didn't land the way I thought it would. And I think there is a decent chance that person is going to either go quiet for a while, maybe pull back from the group or a bit, or they are going to try to do some kind of damage control.
Maybe reach out to you directly with some kind of overly friendly gesture, almost like nothing happened, hoping you never find out, or hoping that if you do find out, it will seem less significant because they are being so nice. Now watch for that. If someone who's been a little distant suddenly gets weirdly warm toward you out of nowhere, that might be exactly what's going on. But more importantly, I think this moment is going to deepen your relationships with these three people. Whether you ever explicitly talk about it or not, there is something that happens between people when one person defends another. Even if the person being defended never finds out, it creates a kind of invisible threat, a loyalty, a bond. These three people now carry a little piece of you with them, a piece where they chose to protect your name when it mattered. And even if you never have a conversation about it, even if this stays completely unspoken forever, I think you are going to feel a shift in how these people show up for you going forward. More warmth, more protectiveness, maybe even more honesty with you. Because once someone defends you, they often start feeling even more invested in your life, almost like they've got skin in the game now. And I want to gently say this too. At some point, you might find out it not necessarily through some big dramatic reveal, or maybe through a passing comment. Maybe one of these three people, weeks or months from now, says something like, "Oh yeah, by the way, someone said something kind of messed up about you a while back, but don't worry, we shut that down real quick." Casual, almost like an afterthought. But when you hear it, I think it's going to hit you in a really meaningful way. Because you will realize that while you were living your life completely unaware, people were quietly standing guard for you, and that's such a profound thing to sit with. It means you're not as alone as you sometimes feel. It means that even in rooms where you are not even in conversations, you're not part of, your name carries weight, good weight, because of how you've treated people, how you've shown up, the relationships you've built.